Hi, I'm Wayne the Boat Guy, and today we're going to be using my gel coat repair kit on my boat. So let's see how that goes. I'm going to take you with me through the whole process so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. So first of all, I've got myself a table set up over here with in the shade, in the garage, with the kit. So I should have everything I need according to the instruction sheet to be able to do this. And what I'm going to be doing is just fixing a couple of little spots today. So I'm going to mix up a real tiny batch. We're going to fix those couple of spots and we're going to see how they look. All right, so here's the spot where we're working. We got this one here, which is bigger than the end of my finger. A couple little ones here, another one that's bigger than the end of my finger, and a whole bunch more over here. I'm just going to work on a few of these. So the first thing they recommend you do is you supposed to sand this. And just so you know, this fiberglass here is nice and solid, and the gel coat is just chipped off of here. He did a lot of fishing with this boat, and I think that's what messed it up. So we're going to take their 100 grit sandpaper that they gave us, and we're going to scuff up the edges of that stuff just a little bit. Now, the advantage of having an old junky boat like mine is you can muck around with this stuff and just see how it goes, right? You can just take things like this and say, I'm going to give this a try and see what happens. Because if it don't work, I can just do it right or do it a different way next time, right? So this stuff's sanding really easy. It's eating right up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape around all the spots where I'm doing this, so that way I know exactly where it is that I'm supposed to put in my gel coat when I mix it up. I can mix multiple batches of this gel coat up, but I just want to do a little one this time as an experiment. You don't need to watch me fix my whole entire boat. You just want to see how this stuff works and if it's any good, right? Right, okay. So, the kit only came with one little piece of plastic. And they say that if you don't, that you're supposed to cover this over. So after I put the gel coat on here, I'm supposed to cover it over with plastic. And if I'm doing multiple spots, they only gave me one little square of plastic. So what I need to do is use some wax paper for some of the other spots. So we're gonna get all these scuffed up first. That's enough, right? All right, let's do these two, fine. Okay, next we're gonna tape off our area. Yep, blowing it off with my special tool there, just blowing it with my knife. I'm just gonna run a bit of tape on this strip here, the bump strip. And I'm going to run it just maybe just a hair above the bump strip too. That way I don't run any of this gel coat down into that area, right? Let's see if we can do that neatly. Not too shabby. So this is just to keep it from running down into there. And then we're going to run a strip across the top. And then we'll box off our areas. Okay. Area number 1. It should just be one whole area, but we're just doing the big chunks. So. You know what? Because this whole area is so chewed up, I don't know if I'm going to even, I might end up pulling the tape off from between the sections here. So. Okay, so we got all the tape done. Now I got my rubber gloves on. And we're getting ready to put our acetone on. So, pop that open with a screwdriver, dab some on a rag, and spread it on there. So the acetone removes all the greases, waxes, blah, 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 blah. So, it preps your surface. So, I'm just going to go ahead and acetone everything in this section. If you have a nice boat, you're not supposed to get acetone on other areas because I think it'll remove your waxes. If you have a boat like mine, which doesn't have any wax on it, it's an old boat, it's not such a big deal. Seems to be evaporating quickly out here. Let me soak a little bit more onto here. All right. Smells good. You're not supposed to smell it, Wayne. It's chemicals. All right, I'm gonna go run and put this away. Okay, now we're in the garage. So, here's my mixing cup. This is a stick that they gave us with the kit for mixing. This is, I guess, for spreading it on. This is the little piece of plastic they gave me to cover it over when we're done. These are our tints. There's our gel paste, our hardener, and our sandpaper. So, what we're supposed to do is put some of this in there, put some tinting agent in there, and we get it to match up before we put the hardener in. So that's what we're going to ready to do first here. I wonder if this is one of those ones where I got to like poke this into there to break a seal. Let's see. Yep. So you flip the cap over to break the seal. Boop. See, breaks the seal. Isn't that cool? So, their mixing instructions say, hey, there's a little skink. Oh, I wish you could see the skink. Anyway. 4 drops for every teaspoon of blended gel coat paste. I'm not going to mix much up because we're just doing this as an experiment today. So, whoa. Our gel coat paste is like, it's like clear. It's almost clear. I guess I got to put some tint in there. I was going to try to go without tinting it, but yeah. This stuff's clear. It smells good. You know, it smells like something else. What does it smell like? It smells kind of like body filler, even though it's not. All right. So let's see, what colors did they give me? Cancer? No. White. Oh, there we go. No. It just says coloring agent. It'd be nice if it said what color it is, but I can see a little bit of color here. So one's like I don't know. Let's see. Let's put in some of the white stuff first. Are these got to be poked through too? Oh man. These have to be like poked with something. Luckily, I have a poker and a bunch of dirt. See if that works. Yep. Let's drop the tube in there, Wayne. There's not much in these tubes. I was hoping this stuff was just going to be white that they gave me. because I wasn't even going to bother adding color to it if it was just white. So there we go. This little glob, I added some white in there. As you can see, it's very, very white now. And it is a really small glob, isn't it? I probably need to make it a slightly bigger glob than that. And I certainly am not against doing that. Because once again, this is all an experiment. We're testing stuff out here. Woo, I am sweaty. We're testing stuff out here. All right, add a little bit more no-run polyester gel paste. Bloop. It doesn't like to come off of there. It's a nice little worm of it. And now, my boat is kind of a slightly tannish color. Let's try a little dab of whatever this is. Maybe it's red. I don't know. Let's just throw a dab in here, all right? So, here's our color here, right? Hope it comes out okay. Hope we can see it. So it's like there's the yellowy clear stuff and my white, and I'm mixing them together with the stick, right? And now I'm going to put in one tiny drop of this. There it is, one little drop. See it? Now let's see how it changes the color. Let's see. It's probably going to turn it into brown. What? Look at that. It is. It's turning it brown, like totally brown. You know what though? If we fix it all in brown, you'll be able to see where I fixed it. Maybe we will fix it in brown. But I think I'm going to make it a little bit lighter than that. It's like a browny gray color. Very nice. What fun. All right. Goopy, just mess, really, is what this is. And it literally seems like I have just a tiny teaspoon in there. Every time I squeeze a bunch out of this tube, it literally seems like it's just a tiny little teaspoon that we've got in here. So I just put another big old squirt of that in there. So you saw how little amount of the coloring agent we used and how it changed the color drastically. So now we put in a bunch more of the original cleary stuff. And then I'll probably add a bit more of the white so it's not quite so brown. Because this is really quite brown. And it's very messy to work with. I wonder if it's evaporating, if that's why it seems to be getting smaller. I don't know. So this tube seems like it's a decent size, but there's really hardly anything in here. This is the white tube. So added another squirt of white. So yeah, me trying to match the color of my boat, forget it. I'm not going to do that. That's just way too much work. And you know, if you don't realize this or not, my boat is very old. 76 to 86, 86 to 96, 96 to 06, 06 to, yeah, it's like 45 years old. So. Now I'm just getting this stuff slopped all over the place. Color is not consistent. And I'm supposed to be mixing in hardener with it soon. But it's really hard mixing it with a freaking popsicle stick. I'm really concerned that I'm going to have trouble getting my hardener all rolled into there in this situation. So here's what we're going to do. because once again, we're figuring this out as we go, okay? So I put another zap of this in here. But it's still, look, this is a popsicle stick, and literally pretty much all of what I have kind of fits on the end of it here. See that? So there's not much in here. And we're going to use a couple drops of this hardener, and oh, it needs to have a hole poked in it too. Fantastic. Let me wipe this off with a rag. And my rag is located off camera. And I said something like 4 drops for every teaspoon or something like that, so. All right, so we put in 5 because I tried to put in 3 and then 2 just came shooting out right afterwards. So now I'm going to try to mix this up rapidly. Before it becomes a just giant mess. And then I'm going to try to take you over with me to the boat before this stuff hardens up. And I am sweating so much right now that sweat is just rolling in my eyes. I know you didn't care. You don't want to hear that. You're like, I don't care. I just want to watch you finish fixing this boat so I can see if I want to do this. I want to see how hard this project is. What a mess. All right. All right, let's go to the boat and spread it on. All right, so here's our little tub of goop. Look, we're in the shade now. The sun kind of came off of this spot. So I'm just gonna sort of try to smear it into these spots. This one's kind of deep, so smear quite a bit into that. These sticks are not ideal for putting this stuff on, I don't think. Might as well dab little bits in there, huh? I think I have a spreader in there. I think I'd much rather put this on with my spreader. Although my spreader's kind of big and these spots are kind of small, so my spreader might be too intense for this area. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to glob it in here, try not to leave any voids, hoping I got it mixed good enough. Only a low area here. Now there are all these little nicks. I think I'm just going to go ahead and spread some of it around into those too before it hardens up, just because I have some. I usually do not like to build up too much on these things because that's just more sanding work in the future. But let's just see how this goes. What a mess. But if in the end, if it fills in all these holes, it may end up looking great. So I think the way this stuff works too is that you're supposed to be able to, I think you're just supposed to be able to like rub it out and compound it, use a buffer, bring it back to a shine, I think. Okay, so I'm supposed to cover this with plastic now. Oh, come on. trying to rip my wax paper on the box. There we go. I don't know how much wax paper we need. We don't need that much. So that's my idea. I said I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of flatten it on there. I'm wondering if I should be working without my gloves now. All right, we took our gloves off here. The gloves are coming off. All right. Of course, now the wind is picking up, so I have that going for me. And by for me, I mean against me. So apparently what you're supposed to do is use this to keep air from getting into this thing. So it's supposed to be sealed off from the air. That's how it cures. If I was smart, I would have cut this plastic beforehand. And I'm using the plastic right now to kind of mush some of this stuff out. I don't know how that's going to work. That may be desirable, it may not be. I also don't know if you have to completely seal this perfectly from the elements or not. And when I press this down, I feel like I might be messing it up in some areas too. You know what I mean? Digging in where the gouges are. So we shall see about that too. All right, there it is. It's all taped off. Okay, let's go inside and talk for a minute. What we've done so far. We prepped the surface, we mixed up our gel coat, tinted it, spread it on there, and put the plastic over it to be able to have it cure. That is according to what I'm supposed to do here on the instruction sheet. So, work mixture well into damaged area. Be careful the mixture does not come in contact with undamaged areas. Didn't really do that. Using closed clear release paper or piece of wax paper to completely cover the repair area. Make sure that no air bubbles are left between the release paper and the repair area. The repair will cure in approximately 1 hour. So we'll look at it in an hour. I'm going to go back over there and re-rub my hand over to make sure there aren't any air bubbles. Unfortunately, the area we were working, the way I had it taped off, it was on a curve and I couldn't really get the wax paper to be tight up against the surface of the boat really. But I did rub it into the new gel coat I put in there, so I don't know what that's going to do. If this experiment fails today and I've just made a gigantic mess over on the side of my boat, that's okay, because we'll all have learned something, like what not to do. So what I did figure out so far, the tinting, I've tinted stuff before, and that's even harder than I thought it would be. That one drop of brown, I don't know if that captured on camera really well, or red, or whatever I put in there. That made a huge difference. And actually, you know, it's not that much darker than my boat. I thought my boat was a little off-white, but it looks like it's probably a little darker than that. Also, the batch that I mixed up was about right in the end. I still have a few globs of it in here, but it was pretty close to being the right amount. It's really hard to mix it with this popsicle stick in a plastic container like this. Not easy. I have spreaders, but This is my smallest spreader, and that really wasn't, I don't think, ideal sized for working in that area, because I think if I spread it on really perfectly, then by the time I got it covered over with plastic or wax paper, by the time I got it covered over, I think I would have messed up my smooth surface. So hopefully it's all on there and it all hardens up kind of nice and is good in an hour, and then I can go back with sandpaper and we just sand it smooth, and we have new gel coat there. Ideally, what you're supposed to be able to do is sand it smooth and then wet sand it, 600 paper, I have that, and then buff with a fine polishing rubbing compound and wax. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how this turns out. I'm kind of excited. If this works well, that's great, because I have a lot more chips and nicks to fix on this boat. I'm also going to do a video where I use my fiberglass repair kit. I've got about 3 or 4 spots where I need to do some fiberglass repair. So I'm also going to put together a video of that. Might not do that today though, because it is really hot. All right, so let's check back in an hour. All right, it's a little over an hour later. I wanted to do this reveal in real time, so I'm going to actually be taking this off and looking at it the first time myself. Let me show you one of the problems that I'm concerned about, is that this is a double layer of wax paper here and an ant. This is a single layer of it here, but it's not sitting completely flush on here as tight as it could be because of the angle of the boat right through here. And what it said is that that's supposed to be sitting on there flush, keeping air out of this area. So I don't think it's kept the air out of it completely. So let's see how it cured. Okay, some of this feels cured, some of it not. It didn't fill it all the way in. There's still an indent in here that's discolored. Actually, I'm going to show this on the other camera. So this is still a little bit of an indent, and some of this still feels a little soft. Some of it feels very hard. So this is not fully cured yet, I don't think. So that one hasn't fully cured. So I'm going to try to set it back on there properly. Now, another reason why I think it might not fully cure is I think there are some areas that I don't think I got fully mixed either, because I was trying to do it with a popsicle stick. So let's see what this end looks like. This end looks a lot better. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. Let me show you with the up-close camera. So you can see the different color because my parts that I put on were kind of an earth tone. Oh, that's still wax paper there. There we go. Here's where it's real. This is all hard. And there are some air pockets and bubbles in here where I didn't do it perfectly, but it's all hard and it's all there. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to check this section, see if it's all hardened up correctly. If it is, then I'm going to start sanding this area, and we'll sand it and see what we have, and maybe if I need to put on another layer, we'll put on another layer. But this actually looks pretty good right here. It feels pretty good. Doesn't quite sound the same. I don't know. Let's see what this is like here. Yeah, this section's good. I ended up putting some over top of my masking tape that's here too. That was not intentional. but it was just over the very edge of it, so looks like I can get most of it out. I'm just grateful I'm in the shade now. The sun has moved behind that one tree, so I'm in the shade. All right, so I'm going to start sanding on this right here. So here's what it looks like with the tape off of it. Nice up close look. It's not flat, it's not smooth, it's not great, and the color is not matching. But for this experiment, it might be something that we can work with. Okay, so to start with, I'm using a little bucket with some 220 grit wet dry sandpaper. I like to use wet dry sandpaper, and I like to use it wet because I find it's just, I don't know, I like it better. It's not dusty, the paper doesn't get clogged up as quick. I just like it better. So what we're doing is I'm trying to just sand off some of my earth tone here, and let's see how it works. Remember, if this doesn't work at all, if this turns out to be a complete disaster, I'll just start over again with something else. I'm not afraid. I think we'll speed this part up here. So whenever you're sanding this sort of stuff, when you're wet sanding, you want to constantly make sure that you're keeping the area wet and that it's clean and wiped off, and that you're not sanding through, you're not sanding too deep into anything. But ideally, whenever it's all done, everything should just be white and just be your, the only, if there was no color difference, not being able to see where the new parts are. The fact that I'm doing mine with a slightly different tint, you'll be able to see where all the new stuff is, which is kind of cool in a way. So I also had a problem because my tape, some of this ended up glooping over top of my tape, and where it glooped over my tape, I'm having to sand through, and then there's all this tape residue underneath of it, and so I haven't even gotten down to getting it smooth yet, and I'm dealing with tape residue, which is clogging up my paper. I was doing my initial sanding with 220. What you should do is do like, I probably should have done like 180 first, then a little 220, then some 400, then 600, then 800, then compound and waxed it. I went from 200 right to 800. The only reason I did that is because I don't have any 600. I do have 400 though. I probably should have used a little bit of 400 before I went to 800, but I wanted to finish off a little piece of this so you could kind of see what it's going to look like when it's done. What I had done here is I've sanded this all the way now, and this is what's left. So the brown areas are my new gel coat, and as you can see, I had some air pockets in there, so there's some little nicks still in some spots. This one has like 3 of them, This one looks like it might have one. This one's good. And this one has a couple of them, and this one has just a couple little ones. But it's vastly improved, and it feels great. Here's an old fix that somebody had done one time before where they had just spread something onto here, which definitely stopped it from getting worse, but it feels bad and it doesn't look very good. If I had gotten my color right here, this would look a whole lot better because this would just look like an undamaged area of gel coat. Well, I'm going to stop the video right here. So oddly enough, I'm referring to this as a success because the way I look at it, if I had mixed up the color correctly and if I had taped this off correctly, this would have filled in perfectly, and it feels great, and it's very smooth. It's sanded quite nicely, and if I had blended the right color and I didn't have any little air bubbles in this, you'd never even know I fixed this area. So I think that's pretty good. Now, granted, you still could buy these raw components and do this yourself. You don't have to get this kit, and the kit does not include everything that you need to do this because it doesn't come with tape, it doesn't come with acetone, and it only comes with one grade of sandpaper. So the kit does not have every single thing you need. Oh, and rubber gloves and a mixing surface and anything other than popsicle sticks to mix with. You get the point. The kit's not bad, but you can buy these parts on its own, and just getting that gel coat stuff, putting that in here and sanding it down and getting it to match up, you can fix some small imperfections and chips and nicks in your boat. And that's pretty nice because that can take a boat that didn't quite look minty and turn it back into one that looks very, very nice. And I'm not concerned about the color being off on this. My boat is very old and I'm not concerned. I don't worry about it. It's a project boat. It's a boat for me to test these kinds of things on. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this section here, and over the next few days I'm going to actually work on doing some fiberglass repair, and I'll probably put this stuff over top of the fiberglass repair too, see how that works, just for fun. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video, or at least it was entertaining watching me mess around with this. If you have some other thoughts for how I should have done this differently, please be sure to share that in the comments below. I love hearing feedback from the people who watch my videos. Well, let me finish sanding all this other nonsense off.